On a quiet September morning in 1935, a group of boys playing along a rural stream near the Scottish border made a gruesome discovery. Inside a package wrapped in newspaper were human body parts, neatly severed, carefully wrapped, and dumped like discarded meat. It was only the beginning. Over the next few days, police recovered more than 70 body parts scattered across the area. A case that would become known as the Jigsaw Murders had just begun. The scene horrified even the most seasoned officers. Limbs had been meticulously dismembered, skin peeled away from fingertips to obscure identity, and heads decapitated with surgical precision. It was clear the killer had medical knowledge. But who were the victims? And who had gone to such disturbing lengths to erase their identities? Investigators quickly realized that the newspapers used to wrap the body parts were not local. Some came from the north of England, specifically the Lancaster area. This clue helped narrow down the origin of the crime. Forensic experts knew they had a difficult task ahead. In an era before DNA, solving a case like this was nearly impossible, unless science could step up. Meanwhile, in Lancaster, neighbors of Dr. Buck Ruxton began to grow suspicious. The well-known doctor had a charming public image, but behind closed doors, he had a history of jealousy and paranoia. His wife, Isabella Ruxton, hadn't been seen for days. Neither had their young maid, Mary Rogerson. When questioned, Ruxton claimed Isabella had taken the children to visit relatives, but no one had seen her leave. Detectives followed their instincts and searched the Ruxton home. Inside, they found bloodstains on the stairs, cleaned but still visible under chemical testing. More damning was the blood found in the bathroom, enough to suggest a body had been dismembered there. The drainpipe showed signs of blockage from human tissue. Things were adding up fast. The challenge was linking the scattered remains in Scotland to the missing women in Lancaster. That's when pioneering forensic scientist Professor John Glaister stepped in. Using a revolutionary method, he compared the jigsawed body parts to photographs and anatomical records of Isabella and Mary. Slowly, piece by piece, he reconstructed the corpses, literally like a puzzle, until the identities became clear. Glaister also used a new fingerprint lifting technique. Despite the killer's attempt to remove the fingerprints, one small section of skin on a finger was intact enough to reveal a partial print, and it matched Mary Rogerson. This tiny clue became the cornerstone of the prosecution's case. Dr. Ruxton was arrested and charged with the murders of his wife and their maid. The motive? Prosecutors argued it was fueled by uncontrollable jealousy. Ruxton believed Isabella was having an affair, and when Mary walked in on the aftermath, she became a witness he couldn't allow to live. The trial captivated the British public. A respected doctor, now accused of one of the most gruesome double murders in the country's history. Ruxton pleaded not guilty, but the forensic evidence was overwhelming. Testimonies from scientists, blood spatter analysis, dental records, and the damning fingerprint painted a chilling picture. In March 1936, the jury returned its verdict: guilty. Dr. Buck Ruxton was sentenced to death and hanged later that year. His case became one of the first in British history where forensic science, not eyewitnesses, secured a conviction. The Jigsaw Murders weren't just solved. They reshaped the future of criminal investigations forever. News of the case spread far beyond the UK. Newspapers across Europe and North America reported on the bizarre and brutal details of the crime. For many, the idea that a trusted physician, a man who had delivered babies and treated illnesses, could also be a cold-blooded killer was unthinkable. The duality of Buck Ruxton shocked the world. In the courtroom, the defense tried to challenge the scientific findings. They argued that body identification based on anatomical structure and partial fingerprints wasn't conclusive. But forensic science had entered a new era. The jury wasn't just hearing opinions. They were seeing evidence backed by analysis, logic, and physical reconstruction. And they believed it. Ruxton's motive became clearer as details emerged. He had become increasingly possessive of Isabella. His paranoia consumed him, fueled by fantasies of infidelity and betrayal. He would reportedly follow her, interrogate her, and fly into rages over imagined slights. Eventually, jealousy turned lethal. His rage didn't stop with her. He silenced the only witness in the house, Mary Rogerson. After his conviction, Ruxton wrote desperate letters from prison, claiming innocence and begging for mercy. But the evidence left little doubt. His appeals failed, and the public, who had followed the story for months, believed justice had been served. On May 12, 1936, Dr. Ruxton was executed at Strangeways Prison in Manchester. What made the case legendary wasn't just the horror of the murders. It was the science behind the solution. The meticulous reconstruction of the dismembered bodies marked one of the earliest uses of facial superimposition, a method still used today. And the partial fingerprint, lifted from skin long believed too damaged to identify, proved just how far forensic analysis had come. This case became mandatory reading in criminal investigation courses. Police departments across the world began investing more heavily in forensic training. What had once been a field of guesswork and gut instinct became one of science and precision. The Jigsaw murders were more than a crime. They were a catalyst for change. To this day, the Ruxton case is cited in modern forensic textbooks. It marked the turning point where killers could no longer rely on body disposal or clever lies to evade justice. The microscope had replaced the magnifying glass. Crime solving would never be the same again. The tragic irony of it all? Had Ruxton simply reported Isabella missing, he might have escaped suspicion entirely. But the brutality of his crime and his attempt to cover it with surgical precision became the very things that exposed him. His need for control led to his downfall. For the families of Isabella and Mary, justice came with pain. They had lost daughters, sisters, friends, people whose lives were cut short for no reason other than one man's paranoia. But in a time before modern DNA labs, they found closure thanks to the courage of investigators and the sharp minds of early forensic scientists. The Jigsaw murders remain one of the most infamous and groundbreaking cases in British criminal history. It reminds us that even in the darkest crimes, science can shine a light. And no matter how careful a killer may be, truth always finds a way out. If you found this case as fascinating as it was disturbing, don't forget to subscribe for more real-life crime stories where justice, science, and mystery collide. Hit the bell so you never miss the next one.